Welcome to LDI 112. In this LDI, we're going to go back and take a look at example 1.6 one more time, but this time we're going to take a look at it with respect to the p-value. Now, just as a quick reminder, this is a two-sided rejection region. Hopefully you remember that from when we did example 1.6. Why? Well, because the majority of the stuff in the alternate is both on the left and on the right. Okay? All right, so let's get right into this thing here. Say consider two bags E and F that we had back in example 1.6, and you're allowed to select one voucher from the shown bag, and you got to decide whether it's bag E or bag F. So first time through here, we're going to say that the voucher you drew out of the bag was a $2 voucher. In other words, that's your observed value. What they want to know is what is the corresponding p-value, and then decide based on this table down here for which level of significance would it be significant or not. Okay? In other words, remember that's just a collection of alphas there, and we want you to compare the resulting p-value from our $2 voucher to those values of alpha. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go do the calculation. So our observed value was a $2. So if that was our observed value, how do we calculate the p-value? Well, remember, it has to be calculated just like we did alpha. And since this is a two-sided test, we not only are going to calculate the p-value in that direction, but we're also going to do, by symmetry, this side over here. Okay? Keep in mind what the p-value is. The p-value is the level of significance based upon the observed value. Now, if this was a two-sided test, then we're going to calculate our level of significance from the left side and the right side. So we have to calculate the p-value just like we did alpha. Okay? So our p-value in this case turns out to be 6/30. Okay? Well, if you get your calculator out, and just to show off our TI here for a second, you can take 6 and divide that by 30, and you get, by Jove, 20%. So that tells us that our p-value is equal to 0.2 or 20%. Okay, so let's go back and let's compare that to these different values of alpha. Okay, so p-value we just calculated, and we want to compare that to alpha. Okay, so the p-value we have, well, that was 0.20. Our first contestant here in level of significance was 10%. So what's the appropriate inequality symbol here? It's going to be a greater than. So we know based upon our information on page 32 of the text on how we make decisions based upon p-value and alpha, that no, it is not statistically significant. Same thing is going to be true for 0.05 as well as for 0.01. So it's no and no. All of these have the p-value greater than alpha. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and clean the deck here. Clear the deck back over here in the picture, and let's go ahead and do part B. Okay? So now in part B, what we're going to do is change it so that now the observed voucher was a $10 voucher. And what we want to know is, with the observed voucher being $10, what would be the corresponding p-value? Okay, so now again, remember, two-sided test means I have to use symmetry, and I got to calculate it like that, right? So it ends up with our corresponding p-value is going to be equal to 2/30, which I could get the calculator out again and show you that when you round off correctly is 0.067 to 3 places. Okay? So let's go back to the table again. So remember, these are alphas. So let's take our corresponding value of the p-value. Let's take alpha, and let's compare them. So we got a p-value of 0.067, and we got an alpha of 0.10, or 10%. So 6.7% compared to 10%, got a less than there. Well, what does that tell you? Whenever the p-value is less than alpha, then the data are statistically significant, and we reject the null hypothesis. So in this case, now, yes, this is statistically significant. On the other hand, take a look at 0.05. and 0.01, and we know in both these cases it will be no. Okay, now I went through that pretty quickly, but it's a lot like LDI 111. It's just the two-sided rejection region that's the difference here. Okay, if you have any additional questions, please don't be shy about sending an email to Michelle or I.